Paraśurāma filled 5 lakes with the blood of his enemies, and 18 armies gathered on that same ground to end an age. Adi Parva, Book 1, Chapter 2. In the previous chapter, Ugrasrava the Sūta arrived at the 12-year Satra in Naimisha forest, where Shaunaka and the assembled Brahmarishis asked to hear the Bharata of Dvaipayana. Ugrasrava recounted the first outlines of that great story, and now the rishis press him to explain the sacred region where the war was fought and how vast the armies truly were. The rishis gathered at Shaunaka's Satra spoke to the Sūta's son. "You have mentioned Samantapañcaka. We wish to hear about it fully and in proper order." He replied, "If you wish to hear these fine tales as I tell them, O best among the virtuous, you are worthy to hear of Samantapañcaka. At the junction of the Treta and Dwapara ages, Paraśurāma, foremost among those who bear weapons, slew the royal Kshatriya line again and again, driven by wrath. Having annihilated the entire Kshatriya order through his own prowess, that one, blazing like fire, made 5 lakes of blood at Samantapañcaka. In those lakes whose waters were blood, overcome with rage, he offered oblations to his ancestors, blood for blood, so we have heard. Then Richika and the other ancestors approached him and said, 'Forgive.' At their word, he restrained himself and ceased. The holy region near those blood-filled lakes has been celebrated as Samantapañcaka ever since. The wise say that a region should be named by the very feature through which it is recognized and distinguished. And at the junction of the Kali and Dvapara ages, the great battle of the Kuru and Pandava armies took place at that very site. In that most righteous region, free from the taint of earthly impurity, 18 akṣauhiṇīs gathered, eager to fight. So the name was established. It is a holy and beautiful place. This is how that region came to be renowned and celebrated throughout the 3 worlds. The rishis had another question. "You spoke of akṣauhiṇīs, great military divisions. Tell us their proper count, the chariots, horses, men, and elephants. All of it is known to you." The smallest unit is called a patti. 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 foot soldiers, and 3 horses. 3 times a patti is a senamukha. 3 senamukhas make a gulma. 3 gulmas make a gana. 3 ganas make a vahini. 3 vahinis together make a pritana. 3 pritanas make a chamu. 3 chamus make an anikini. 10 anikinis is what the learned call an akṣauhiṇī. By careful reckoning, 1 akṣauhiṇī holds 21,870 chariots. The number of elephants is exactly the same. The number of men is 109,350. The number of horses is 65,610. By this count, the combined armies of the Kurus and Pandavas came to 18 akṣauhiṇīs in all. They gathered at Samantapañcaka and met their end there, through time, whose deeds are wondrous, and all because of the Kauravas. Bhishma, master of supreme weapons, fought for 10 days. Drona protected the Kuru army for 5 days. Karna fought for 2 days. Shalya lasted half a day, and the mace fight came after that. At the end of that very day, Kritavarma, Ashvatthama, and Kripa slaughtered Yudhishthira's army while they slept in trusting rest through the night. At Shaunaka's Satra, the Sūta's son declared his intention. He would narrate the full expanse of the Bharata tale, beginning first with the Paloma story. This tale of varied meanings is approached by wise men as those who seek liberation approach renunciation. Just as the self stands foremost among things to be known, and life among all things dear, this itihāsa is supreme in purpose, and the finest of all sacred teachings. The highest wisdom is embedded within it, just as speech, resting on the world and on the Vedas, embraces all vowels and consonants together. Now let the Parva Saṅgraha of this Bharata itihāsa be heard, a work of varied words and rich sections, embraced by those of profound understanding. The first is the Parvanukramānika, the index of the Parvas. The second is the Parva Saṅgraha itself. Then come the Paushya, Poloma, Astika, and the descent of the primal lineage. The Sambhava Parva follows, wondrous, fashioned as if by the gods. The burning of the lac house is told here, and the Hidimba Parva as well. Then the Baka Vadha Parva, and after it, the Chitraratha Parva. The Svayamvara of the princess of Panchala is told as a Parva. The Vaivahika Parva, composed in accordance with the dharma of warriors. The Vidura Gamana Parva, and the gaining of the kingdom. Arjuna's sojourn in the forest, then the abduction of Subhadra, and after the abduction of Subhadra, the Harana Harika, then the Khandava Daha, the burning of the Khandava forest, and the encounter with Maya therein, then the Sabha Parva, and after it, the Mantra Parva, the Jarasandha Vodha Parva, and the Digvijaya Parva. After the Digvijaya, the Rajasuya section, then the presentation of the Arghya and the killing of Shishupala, the Dyuta Parva, then the Anudyuta after that, then the Aranyaka Parva, and the killing of Kirmira. The battle between Shiva and Arjuna is named the Kirata Parva. The Indraloka Bigamana Parva follows, then the pilgrimage of the wise king of the Kurus. The Jatasura Vada Parva, then the Yaksha Yuddha, and the Ajagara Parva comes after that. Then the Markandeya Samastya Parva, and after it, the dialogue of Draupadi and Satyabhama. Then the Goshayatra Parva, the terror of the deer portent in a dream, and after that, the Vrihidraunika tale, the abduction of Draupadi from the hermitage by Jayadratha, the Saindhava king, and after that, the Kundala Harana Parva, then the Araneya Parva, and after it, the Virata Parva, the killing of the Kichakas, then the Gograhana Parva, the wedding of Abhimanyu and Virata's daughter is a Parva, and after it comes the great and wondrous Udyoga Parva. Then the Sanjaya Yana Parva. After that, the Prajagara, the wakeful, anxious night of Dhritarashtra. The Sanat Sujata Parva, the secret teaching on the inner self. Then the Yana Sandhi and the journey of Krishna. The Vivada Parva of Karna. Then the Niryana Parva, the march out of the Kuru and Pandava armies. The Rathatirata Sankhya, the counting of chariot warriors and great chariot warriors, is a Parva. Then the arrival of Uluka as envoy, which fanned the flames of anger. The Ambopakhyana, the tale of Amba, is a Parva. And the installation of Bhishma as commander is a Parva of wondrous cause. The Jambu Khanda Vinirmana, the fashioning of the Jambu continent, is a Parva. Then Gabhumi Parva, celebrating the extent of the island continents.
Then the Bhagavad Gita Parva. Then the Bhishma Vada Parva. The installation of Drona as commander. Then the slaying of the Samsaptakas. The Abhimanyu Vada Parva. The Patignya Parva. The Jayadratha Vada Parva. Then the Gatotkacha Vada. Then the Drona Vada Parva, hair-raising in its telling, and after it the release of the Narayana Astra, the Karna Parva, then the Shalya Parva, the Harada Pravesha Parva, and the Gada Yuddha after that. Then the Sarasvata Parva, adorned with sacred fords and lineages, and after it the dreadful Sauptika Parva, the Aishika Parva, declared extremely terrible. Then the Jalapradhanika Parva and the Stri Parva. Then the Shraddha Parva, the post-death rites of the Kurus. And the Abhishechanika Parva of Dharmaraja. The suppression of Charvaka, a Rakshasa in Brahmin's form. Then the distribution of dwellings, told as a Parva. Then the Shanti Parva, where the Dharma of kings is recounted at length. The Apad Dharma, and after it, the Moksha Dharma, then the supreme Anushasana, then Bhishma Svargarohana, then the Ashwamedha Parva, the horse sacrifice which destroys the fruits of all evil deeds, and the Anugita Parva after that, speaking of the inner self, the Ashramavasa Parva, with the sight of departed sons, the arrival of Narada told as a Parva after that, then the dreadful Mausala Parva, the Mahaprasthanika Parva, and then the Svargarohana. The second, the Sabha Parva, contains many events, the Pandavas' activities in the assembly hall and the sight of the attendants, the account of the Lokapala assembly halls as learned from Narada who had seen the gods, the commencement of the Rajasuya Yagna and the slaying of Jarasandha, the liberation of the kings imprisoned at Girivraja by Krishna, and at the Rajasuya, in the dispute over the Arghya, the slaying of Shishupala. Having witnessed the great splendor of the Yagna, Duryodhana, filled with pain and resentment, was mocked by Bhima on the floor of the assembly hall. From this his rage arose, and by it he arranged the dice game, where the gambling cheat Shakuni defeated Yudhishthira. As they were drowning in the ocean of that game, Draupadi rescued them like a boat from the sea, and King Duryodhana, knowing they had crossed over safely, challenged the Pandavas to dice once more. All of this is narrated in the Sabha Parva, 72 chapters and 2,511 shlokas. The third is the great Aranyaka, the forest Parva, with Yudhishthira following, escorted by the townspeople. Here the Vrishnis and all the Panchalas came. The account of the slaying of Saubha is told, and the killing of Kidmira, and the exile of Partha in quest of weapons, the battle with Mahadeva, who had taken the form of a Kirata, the sight of the Lokapalas and the ascent to Svarga, the sight of the great sage Brihadashva, and the lament of afflicted Yudhishthira, grieving in his misfortune. The tale of Nala, righteous and awakening deep compassion, is here, where Damayanti stands firm through Nala's ruin. The activities of the great-souled Pandavas dwelling in the forest in Svarga are narrated by Lomasha to Arjuna. The pilgrimage to sacred fords by the Pandavas is also here, and the slaying of Jatasura. Bhimasena, sent by Draupadi to the Gandhamadana mountain to seek the Mandara flower, approached the Lake of Lotuses, where a great battle took place between him and Rakshasas, and mighty Yakshas headed by Manimant. Also the Agastya tale, with the swallowing of Vatapi, and the sage's union with Lopamudra for the sake of offspring. Then the tale of the hawk and the pigeon, where Indra, Agni, and Dharma came to test King Shibi. The conduct of the young celibate Rishyashringa, and the conduct of Rama, son of Jamadagni, where the slaying of Kartavirya and the Hayayas is described, and the Saukanya tale, where Chaivana of the Brigu lineage at Charyati's Yagna arranged for the two Ashvins to drink Soma, and was by them restored to his youth. The Jantu tale, where King Somaka sacrificed his own son for an heir and obtained 100 sons by that right. The Ashtavakra tale, where the sage, having defeated Bandin in debate, found his father who had been taken into the ocean. Having obtained divine weapons for the sake of his teacher, Arjuna fought the Nivatakavachas who dwelt in Hiranyapura. The reunion of Partha with his brothers on the Gandhamadana, the Goshayatra, and the battle of Arjuna with the Gandharvas, their return to the Dvaitavana lake, and Draupadi's abduction by Jayadratha from the hermitage. Bhima, swift as the wind, pursued him. And in the Markandeya Samastya, the various subtales. The fifth is the Udyoga Parva. With the Pandavas settled at Upaplavya and eager for victory, Duryodhana and Arjuna both came to seek Vasudeva, "You should render us assistance in this battle," they said. Krishna replied with great wisdom, "I myself will not fight. Which of you chooses me as counselor, and for which shall I give an akṣauhiṇī of warriors?" The dull-witted Duryodhana chose the army. Dhananjaya chose Krishna as his non-fighting companion. The powerful king Dhritarashtra sent Sanjaya as envoy to the Pandavas for the sake of peace. On hearing that the Pandavas were led by Vasudeva, Dhritarashtra lay sleepless through the night, seized with anxiety. Vidura spoke varied and beneficial words to the troubled king, and the king, overcome by grief, was taught the supreme teaching on the inner self by Sanatsujata. At dawn, before the royal assembly, Sanjaya declared the oneness of Vasudeva and Arjuna to all. Krishna, full of compassion and desiring peace, himself went to Hastinapura. King Duryodhana rejected him, though Krishna was seeking peace that would benefit both sides. Knowing the wicked counsel of Karna, Duryodhana, and others, Krishna displayed his sovereignty as the Lord of Yoga before the assembled kings. He took Karna aside on his chariot and spoke to him privately. And Karna, from a warrior's pride, rejected what was offered. Then came the march from Hastinapura of chariots, horses, men, and elephants, and the counting of the forces. King Dhritarashtra sent Uluka as envoy to the Pandavas on the eve of the great battle to speak harsh words, and there followed the counting of great chariot warriors and the tale of Amba. This fifth Parva, rich in many events, is the Udyoga Parva, concerned with peace and war. 186 chapters and 6,698 shlokas, so declared by the great-souled Vyasa. After this, the Bhishma Parva of varied meaning, Sanjaya recounted the fashioning of the Jambu continent. A terrible battle raged for 10 days. The army of Yudhishthira fell into the deepest despair. Vasudeva dispelled the confusion that had arisen in Bharata's heart, born of delusion, with teachings that revealed the path of liberation. And Bharata, placing Shikandi in the forefront, struck Bhishma down from his chariot with sharp arrows. This is the sixth great Parva, 117 chapters and 5,884 shlokas, counted by Vyasa, the knower of the Vedas. Then the Drona Parva, wondrous, with many events. The Samsaptakas drew Partha away from the battlefield. The great king Bhagadatta, equal to Indra in battle, was struck down by Arjuna, along with his elephant Supratika. Many warriors together slew Abhimanyu, the young hero who had not yet come of age, with Jayadratha at their head. After Abhimanyu was slain, the enraged Partha killed 7 akṣauhiṇīs in battle and slew King Jayadratha, and the remaining Samsaptakas were wiped out to the last man. Alambusa, Shrutayu, the valiant Jalasandha, the son of Somadatta, Virata, the great chariot warrior Drupada, Ghatotkacha, and others, all were slain in the Drona Parva. And when Drona had fallen in battle, the enraged Ashvathama released the terrible Narayana Astra. This is the 7th great Parva, where most of the kings who were lords of the earth met their end. Those heroes declared foremost among men, 170 chapters and 8,909 shlokas, counted by the truth-seeing sage Parashara's son. After this, the Karna Parva of supreme wonder, the wise king of Madra, Shalya, is appointed as charioteer, and the ancient tale of the destruction of Tripura is narrated. On the march, a harsh verbal exchange took place between Karna and Shalya, and the tale of the swan and the crow is told there. Mutual anger arose between Yudhishthira and Arjuna, and in single chariot combat, Bharata slew the great chariot warrior Karna. This is the 8th Parva, 69 chapters and 4,900 shlokas. After this, the Shalya Parva of varied meaning. When the chief warriors had fallen, the Lord of Matra became commander. Various chariot battles are described here. The destruction of the leading Kurus is celebrated. The slaying of Shalya at the hands of Dharmaraja, the fierce mace battle, and the sanctity of the sacred fords of the Sarasvati. This 9th Parva is wondrous and full of meaning. 59 chapters and 3,220 shlokas, bearing the glory of the Kauravas. After this, the dreadful Sauptika Parva, King Duryodhana, his thighs broken, lay fallen. After the Bhartas had departed, those three came riding at dusk, drenched in blood. Kritavarma, Kripa, and Ashvatthama. There the firmly resolute Ashvatthama vowed, without killing all the Panchalas, led by Drishtadyumna, and the Pandavas along with their allies, I shall not remove my armor. Those three slaughtered the Panchalas while they slept at night in trusting rest. The 5 Parthas were saved through the power of Krishna, but Satyaki and the rest met their end.
Draupadi, grieving for her slain sons and tormented by the killing of her fathers and brothers, resolved on a fast unto death and came before her husbands. At her words, the mighty Bhima rushed in fury after Ashvatthama. Ashvatthama, terrified by Bhima and goaded by fate, released his weapon. Let there be no Pandavas left. Do not do this, Krishna said, restraining that word, and Arjuna countered that weapon with his own.
Mutual curses passed between Ashvatthama and Vyasa and others. Water rites were performed for all the departed kings, and the tale of the secret birth of Karna from Pritha is also here. This is the 10th Parva, the Sauptika, 18 chapters and 870 shlokas, carefully reckoned across the combined Sauptika and Aishika Parvas. After this comes the Strī Parva, one that stirs deep compassion. The lament of the warrior wives is the most heartbreaking passage here, and the mingled grief and return to calm of Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. They saw their sons, brothers, and fathers, those steadfast Kshatriya heroes who had not turned from battle, lying slain on the field. The great king, foremost among all upholders of dharma, had the bodies of the kings cremated in accordance with sacred custom. This is the 11th Parva, deeply moving and great, 27 chapters and 775 shlokas, composed by the great-souled author of a work that moves the hearts of the good to tears of grief. After this comes the 12th, the Shanti Parva, which expands the mind. Yudhishthira, the Dharmaraja, overcome with despondency after causing the slaughter of fathers, brothers, sons, relatives, and kinsmen. The dharmas are expounded by one resting on his bed of arrows. The duties of kings that those who truly desire right governance should know. The dharmas for times of calamity are also there, revealing their root in time, and the dharmas of liberation are told, varied and wide-ranging. This 12th Parva is dear to those of wisdom. 339 chapters and 14,525 shlokas. After this, the dreadful Sauptika Parva, King Duryodhana, his thighs broken, lay fallen. After the Bhartas had departed, those three came riding at dusk, drenched in blood. Kritavarma, Kripa, and Ashvatthama. There the firmly resolute Ashvatthama vowed, without killing all the Panchalas, led by Drishtadyumna, and the Pandavas along with their allies, I shall not remove my armor. The Anushasana Parva. After this comes the supreme Anushasana, the book of teachings. After hearing Bhishma, son of the Bhagirathi, Yudhishthira regained his natural bearing, and Bhishma drew his final conclusions on Dharma. Here is set out the full scope of governance together with Dharma and Artha, the right conduct and worldly purpose, and the varied fruits that belong to different kinds of giving. It tells of worthy recipients, the proper form of giving, the practice of right conduct, and the supreme end of truth. In this many-sided teaching, Bhishma's attainment of Sparga is celebrated. This 13th Parva settles the conclusions of Dharma, with 146 chapters and 6,700 shlokas. Then follows the Ashvamedha Parva, the horse sacrifice section, told as the 14th. It tells the excellent tale of Samvarta and Maruta, the obtaining of the golden treasury, and the birth of Parikshita, who had earlier been burned by the fire of a weapon and was brought back to life by Krishna. The sacrificial horse was set loose on its wandering, followed by a Pandava prince, with battles here and there against fierce young princes. There is also Dhananjaya's battle with Babruvahana, son of Chitrangadi, born of the princess, and the danger into which he was brought. And there is the tale of Nakula at the great Ashvamedha Yagna. This Ashvamedha Parva is greatly wondrous, with 133 chapters and 3,320 shlokas. After that comes the Ashramavasa, the hermitage-dwelling Parva, remembered as the 15th. King Dhritarashtra, renouncing the kingdom together with Gandhari and Vidura, went to his ashrama. Seeing them depart, the virtuous Kunti also followed, devoted to serving her elders and giving up the kingdom of her sons. The king saw his slain sons, grandsons, and other kings who had gone to the far world, all heroes, returned once more before him. Through the grace of the sage and by the power of Krishna, having witnessed that supreme wonder, he let go of his grief along with his wife and attained the highest perfection. Vidura, holding fast to Dharma, attained the good path, and so did the wise Sanjaya, son of Gavalgana. Yudhishthira saw Narada, and from Narada heard of the great destruction of the ṛṣis. This Ashramavasa Parva is supremely wondrous, with 42 chapters and 1,506 shlokas. After this comes the dreadful Mausala Parva, those tiger-like men who could endure the touch of weapons in battle were crushed by Brahmadanda near the salt sea. Intoxicated at their drinking festival and goaded by fate, they struck one another with erica grass that had become as thunderbolts. Balarama and Krishna, having brought about the total destruction, did not go beyond the all-consuming time that had come upon them equally. Arjuna went to Dvaravati, now emptied of the ṛṣis, saw it, and fell into great grief and anguish. He witnessed the great massacre at the drinking festival and honored the foremost of the Yadus, his maternal uncle Shauri. He performed the last rites for the bodies of Vasudeva, the great-souled Balarama, and the foremost among the ṛṣis. Taking the old and the young of Dvaravati away with him, he met in that harsh calamity the failure of the Gandiva, the fading of all his divine weapons, the destruction of the Vrishni women, and the impermanence of all power and greatness. Urged by the words of Vyasa, he came to Yudhishthira and inclined toward renunciation. This is the 16th, the Mausala Parva, with 8 chapters and 300 shlokas. The Mahaprasthanika is the 17th. The Pandavas, foremost among men, renouncing their kingdom together with the divine Draupadi, attained the highest perfection. 3 chapters and 120 shlokas, the Svarga Parva follows, divine and beyond human, with 5 chapters and 200 shlokas. These 18 parvas have been told in full. In the supplements, the Harivamsha and the Bhavishya Parva are celebrated. This entire Bharata has been told through the Parva Saṅgraha. 18 akṣauhiṇīs gathered eager to fight, and that great and terrible battle lasted 18 days.
A Brahmin who knows the 4 Vedas with all their branches and Upanishads, yet does not know this tale, cannot be counted among the truly learned. After hearing this tale, no other narrative gives delight, just as one who has heard the call of the male cuckoo takes no pleasure in the harsh cawing of a crow. From this greatest of itihāsas, poetic insights arise in the minds of poets, just as the 3 modes of worldly existence arise from the 5 elements. Ancient, sacred lore exists within the scope of this tale, as the 4 kinds of beings exist within the scope of the sky. This tale is the foundation of all the workings of all qualities, just as the varied activities of the mind are the foundation of all the senses. Without drawing from this tale, no story exists anywhere in the world, just as the body cannot be sustained without food. All the finest of poets draw sustenance from this tale. As servants eager to rise seek the favor of a nobly born and powerful lord, that which has flowed from the lips of Dvaipayana, immeasurable, holy, purifying, removing all evil deeds and auspicious. What need is there for any other ablution for one who attains the Bharata as it is recited? This tale, supreme and of great meaning, has been set out here in brief through the Parva Saṅgraha. Hearing it first, men find it easy to enter its depths, vast as the salt sea is easy to cross by boat. This chapter matters because the Sūta's son explains to the assembled ṛṣis the origin of the sacred region Samantapañcaka, where Paraśurāma made lakes of blood and where 18 akṣauhiṇīs later gathered for the great Bharata war. In the next chapter, 3 disciples of Ayodhya Dhaumya demonstrate what true service to a teacher costs, and the student Uttanka descends into the Naga realm to recover stolen earrings before returning to urge King Janamejaya toward the great serpent sacrifice. The journey continues in the next chapter.